Try to imagine, just for a moment, a world without words, no language to name things, no sentences to explain ideas, no way to say, "I am hungry," or "danger is coming," or "I love you" in spoken speech. For an enormous stretch of our deep past, this was the reality our ancestors lived in, and yet they survived, cooperated, hunted together, raised children together, and slowly built the foundations of everything that would follow. So how did they do it? How did ancient humans communicate before language as we know it existed? And how did the most powerful tool our species ever developed, language itself, eventually come into being? This is one of the greatest mysteries in all of human science, and exploring it reveals something profound about what makes us human. First, we have to be honest about how much we do not know, because language is one of the hardest things in all of prehistory to study. Words leave no fossils. Speech does not turn to stone. Unlike tools or bones or cave paintings, the actual sounds our ancestors made vanished the instant they were spoken, leaving no direct trace for archaeologists to find. This means that the origin of language is one of the most debated and uncertain topics in the entire study of human evolution. Scientists must work like detectives, piecing together clues from anatomy, from genetics, from behavior, and from the tools and traces our ancestors left behind to build a picture of how communication evolved. Anyone who claims to know exactly how and when language began is going far beyond what the evidence can support. What we have instead is a fascinating set of clues and careful, reasoned ideas. So let us start with what surely came first, the forms of communication that do not require words at all. Long before spoken language, our ancestors almost certainly communicated the way many animals do, and the way we still do today alongside our speech, through gestures, facial expressions, sounds, and body language. Think about how much you can express without saying a single word. A pointed finger directs attention, a smile signals friendliness, a snarl signals threat. Wide eyes show fear, an open hand shows peace. A cry communicates distress, a laugh communicates joy. These forms of communication are deep and ancient, shared in part with our primate relatives, and they would have been the foundation of how early humans understood one another. A great deal of essential information, who is friend and who is foe, where danger lies, where food can be found, can be conveyed through gesture, expression, and sound, with no words required at all. Gesture, in particular, may have played an enormous role. Some researchers believe that gestural communication, using the hands and body to convey meaning, may have been a crucial stepping stone toward full language. Pointing, miming an action, shaping the hands to represent objects or events, these are powerful ways to share ideas, and they come naturally to us even now. Watch people talk and you will see their hands constantly moving, adding meaning to their words. This deep connection between gesture and communication hints that our hands may have been speaking long before our voices fully could. Combined with a rich vocabulary of cries, grunts, and other vocal sounds, each perhaps carrying its own meaning, early humans could have built a surprisingly sophisticated system of communication well before anything we would recognize as language. But the leap to true spoken language, with its words and its grammar, required something more, and here biology enters the story. Speaking is not just a matter of wanting to talk. It requires a body capable of producing the complex range of sounds that language uses, and a brain capable of organizing those sounds into meaning. Over the long course of human evolution, our ancestors' anatomy changed in ways that made fine, controlled speech increasingly possible, including changes in the vocal tract and in the structures involved in breathing and sound production. At the same time, and just as importantly, the human brain was growing and reorganizing, developing the remarkable capacity to handle the staggering complexity of language, to learn thousands of words, to combine them according to rules, and to produce an endless variety of new meanings. Language is not just sounds, it is one of the most complex things the human brain does, and the brain had to evolve the power to do it. This points to what may be the single most extraordinary feature of human language, the thing that sets it apart from the communication of every other animal. Human language is open-ended and infinitely creative. With a limited set of sounds and words, and a set of rules for combining them, we can produce an infinite number of sentences, including sentences that have never been spoken before in the history of the world. We can talk about the past and the future, about things that are not present, about ideas that are purely imaginary. We can pass on detailed knowledge, tell complex stories, plan elaborate cooperative tasks, and share the contents of our minds with one another in breathtaking detail. No other animal communication system comes close to this power, and it is this gift that lies at the heart of everything our species has achieved. The advantages this gave our ancestors are almost impossible to overstate. Once humans could share complex information through language, everything changed. Knowledge could be passed on with a precision and richness that gesture alone could never match. A hunter could describe exactly where the prey was and how to approach it. An elder could teach the young the accumulated wisdom of generations, which plants heal and which kill, how to make a tool, where the water lies. Plans could be made, coordinated, and adjusted. Stories could be told that carried the history and values of the group across time. Language turned a collection of individuals into a true community of shared minds, able to pool their knowledge and cooperate in ways no other creature could. It is very likely that language was one of the great keys to our species' success, the tool that allowed us to build culture, accumulate knowledge, and work together on a scale unmatched in the natural world. It is worth pausing to appreciate how this transformed the human mind itself. Language does not just let us share our thoughts with others, it may also shape how we think. With words to name things and ideas, we can hold concepts in our minds, reason about them, and combine them in new ways. The rich inner world of human thought, the ability to reflect, to imagine, to plan far into the future, is deeply intertwined with our capacity for language. When our ancestors gained the power of words, they may have gained at the same time a new and far more powerful way of thinking. The story of language is not only the story of how we learned to talk to each other, it may also be the story of how we learned to think. It is worth ending on just how much rests on this single ability, because it is hard to overstate. Nearly everything that distinguishes human life from the life of any other animal flows, in one way or another, from language. The accumulation of knowledge across generations, so that each new group does not have to start from scratch, but inherits the hard-won wisdom of all who came before, depends on language. The coordination of large groups of people toward shared goals depends on language. The passing down of stories, beliefs, laws, and values that bind a society together depends on language. Science, history, art, religion,
Technology, every great human achievement is built on the foundation of our ability to share complex thoughts through words. When our ancestors crossed the threshold into language, they were not just learning a new skill, they were opening the door to culture itself, to the cumulative, ever-growing body of shared human knowledge that has carried us from scattered bands on the savannah all the way to the world we live in now. It is also worth marveling at the fact that every human child still reenacts this ancient achievement in miniature in the first few years of life. A baby is born unable to speak a single word, communicating only through cries, expressions, and gestures, exactly the wordless tools our distant ancestors relied on. And then, with astonishing speed and almost no formal teaching, that child absorbs the staggering complexity of a full human language, learning thousands of words and the intricate rules for combining them until they can express any thought they wish. This happens in every human community on Earth, in every one of the thousands of languages humans speak. The ease with which children acquire language, drinking it in from the world around them, suggests that the capacity for it is now deeply built into the human brain itself, a part of our very nature shaped by that long-ago evolutionary journey. Each new generation, learning to speak, is quietly repeating the greatest leap our ancestors ever made. So how did ancient humans communicate before language? They did it the way all social animals do, and the way we still do beneath our words, through gesture, expression, sound, and the eloquent language of the body. And then, slowly, across an immense stretch of time, as their anatomy and their brains evolved, they crossed one of the most important thresholds in the history of life on Earth. They began to speak. They built words and rules to combine them, and with those tools they unlocked a power no creature had ever wielded before, the ability to share the full contents of the mind, to teach, to plan, to tell stories, to build culture across the generations. We cannot hear the first words ever spoken, and we will never know exactly how or when they came, but we know what they led to, because we are living inside the result. Every conversation, every book, every song, every idea ever shared in human history flows from that ancient achievement, the moment our ancestors learned to turn breath and sound into meaning, and in doing so became fully human.